we've had our opportunity to vent now. Let's talk a little bit about where we're going. I mean, honestly, it's like, we need to get this out of our system, but the real issue now is it is what it is. And
no, I know, but I think we're having a logical conversation. I mean, yes, I'm talking in a tone, but at the same time, I think all this stuff is important for the future because it's not just. I mean, really, what we fail to do is what we have to do. It's not over.
I do think that there is a greater sort of awareness in the the liberal centrist press on some level of this dynamic. I mean, I think there is a little bit. I mean, a little bit. But let's talk a little bit. I want to touch on a little bit about what President Obama came out. He gave a 70-minute press conference yesterday or Wednesday, I guess it was. And he said multiple times he's going ahead with the executive action on immigration reform, which give me your take on this. I mean, look, I'm very worried about, and we've talked about this for a long time in terms of the Senate, and Josh and I are going to talk a little bit about the governor's races, which is maybe more devastating even than the loss of the Senate long term.
I think it is because clearly right now there are bad things we've talked about that can be done in the Senate, but also to hold on to seats depending on how many seats we have, with some of those Republican elections coming up in 2016 that will be tough for them. You can see getting a Mark Kirk or somebody to vote for some of your judges and other people because he's going to have to try to win in Illinois in a presidential year, right? So we've already discussed this. There's some bad aspects on the federal level. There's no doubt. Let's not sugarcoat it. At the same time, I think there are things that potentially can get done, and the Senate was already going to be bad anyhow, whereas the states, I think, is even more devastating because in the end, we now still have a number of key important states being led by people that essentially are just either somewhat good at papering over their lunacy, like Scott Walker and Snyder in Michigan, and frankly Kasich here in Ohio, which is a whole other what went down here. But on top of that, I mean, to me, the two of the night that just I couldn't get over is Rick Scott winning re-election and freaking lunatic LePage. I mean, those two people. I mean, it's not even like Scott Walker is a bad guy. Snyder, Kasich, these are all people who I don't believe their politics. I don't believe they're honest. But those two guys, Scott and LePage are basically borderline criminals. I mean, Scott basically was, in terms of the government going after him for what his previous job was. And LePage, as you and I talked about on the show, basically, he spends every other week, is it, hanging out with domestic terrorists? I don't remember.
Well, he stopped after the intervention.
Okay, well, that was nice of him. I mean, these are people that are embarrassing. They're Michelle Bachmann-esque, but, people like that they're as bad as any unbelievably embarrassing congressman, but they're running a whole state. And that's just amazing to me that they were able to hold on.
So let's get back to what do you think we're going to see? I mean, I was happy to see Obama come out and say, and it occurs to me that, it's one of two things that I interpret from the president coming out and making such a point about immigration reform. One, that they're thinking in the White House, like, this is the Hail Mary. We do this, and it is going to be the biggest distraction possible. It is like waving, a ball of string in front of like a little kitty cat.
Right.
The Republicans are going to go bat crap crazy over this if he does it. It makes it look like he's offering the opportunity for them to do reform. They won't take it. There's obviously going to be, there's at least some exit poll data out there that shows that him not doing this may have hurt at least Udall and others. But
I'm sure it hurt some of our people in Nevada too. And I mean, we got crushed in Nevada.
If he does the executive action, let's say in November or December, how many weeks later will it take for the articles of impeachment to
well,
come
I was going to say, you should be daring them to impeach you.
That's what he's doing, isn't it?
I mean, because the more sane people, well, I think he is, and I'll give him credit for that the other day. He sounded much more defiant, certainly, than after 2010. We got thumped, and, we'll have to rethink things. No. You were still elected president twice. They still obstructed you the entire time. They may have a high water point in the House, but they don't have the Senate. It's not like they have 60 votes in the Senate or something. It comes. You keep doing, and at least it seemed to me he said some of these things and said that he was going to continue. He said, I'm also talking about the 2/3 of people. I'm going to look. I don't know the exact phrase he used, but the 2/3 of people who didn't bother to vote, which seemed to me to be implying there's a reason they didn't vote. They didn't vote Republican either, right?
Well, at least there's some defiance there. I mean,
there was.
Because there's a million other responses I can have imagined that Obama could have come out and said, I've heard the people, and now the Republicans are going to have to govern, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's basically the same response he gave after, I don't know what it was,
but I would be sitting there and saying, this is Sun Tzu time. You know what I mean? I mean, this is art of war time. You need to sit there and say, right now, we have, in addition to the people that everyone's heard of, because of this election, like Joni Ernst and Cory Gardner, they maybe haven't heard as much about Tom Cotton because that race has been off the radar for a while. They almost definitely haven't heard as much about maybe the biggest lunatic of the batch, Ben Sasse, who won in Nebraska, who, there was no real race there, and he is freaking nuts. So these 4 people I named, I'm sure there are others, are every bit as bad as Ted Cruz, if not worse. You can divide that caucus up. You remember what happened with the House?
That's what he did. He basically threw a live grenade into the Republican caucus. I mean,
but
if he had come out and said, like,
incidentally,
I want you all to know, and I wasn't going to say anything about this, but Speaker Boner is actually a secret Democrat. We spend weekends together. And
we golf together. Everybody knows
together,
right?
And I wasn't going to say anything, but I shouldn't have let that out. Or if he had said something like, I'm really terrified of Senator Cruz. I probably shouldn't have said that. That's
can you imagine if it was you and me, how much fun we would have doing it? Like, I would sit there and think of ways to say things and policies to come up with just to get the Senate to blow up.
Or if he just came out and said, like, look, I just want you to know that I got the election results and I was at the mosque praying to, oh my God, did I say that?
That would be awesome. Look, McConnell went after his presidency and frankly damaged it in a pretty serious way. I mean, a lot of it I still blame him because he allowed it to happen and didn't see this somehow. But okay, done is done. But now McConnell got what he wanted, right? He's Senate Majority Leader. Man, why don't you screw up his Senate majority ship or whatever you call it, and just let him have the fun saying Ted Cruz stand up and call him an idiot. I mean, I would pass as many gay-friendly things as possible. Maybe I'd officiate a couple of gay weddings.
Right.
So Ted Cruz blows up and tries to pass that constitutional amendment he wants to pass so badly on gay. I mean, get them to just fight amongst themselves on the most divisive topics.
Well, this immigration thing, I think, is going to do it. I mean, and doing it by executive action seems to me to be not only good policy, but great politics. And
I agree, but I would do it with other things too. Get them fighting on. Don't unite them on things they all agree with. On certain tax measures and whatever. Divide them. Right. Take them apart really on social issues. A lot of which they hate. They're fighting amongst themselves on.
Right, and I would a White House program to hand out free contraceptives. I think.
Now you're thinking. So we're basically going to go and screw with that and wedge these different groups away from them. That's what I would do. Seriously, I'd go across the country. I'd perform gay marriages. That's what I would do.
Well, Cliff Schecter, that avenue is still open to you, and maybe
if I could, Sam, I would.
Dude, you can become a what do you call it? What is it? Justice of the Peace? What is it? What am I thinking of? The
communist.
No, what's that thing where you can become basically a guy?
Drug dealer.
Is it justice? Is it a justice of the peace? No. He gives you the notary. A notary. Republic.
Justice of the peace, I think, is if you're a policeman.
Is that a notary republic?
Notary public. I can't remember what it is.
Okay, I just have one last thing to say. Do we have just a minute or two?
Of course.
Okay, so just so people know and understand the reach of this program, if you don't get it enough. About 2 weeks ago, here I am. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. I go out to this event, great event, by the way, because I sit on the board of a group here, which is I'm really proud of, a hugely important group called the Ohio Innocence Project, which is what we do is we try to get people out of prison who've been falsely put in prison, get them DNA testing and all that kind of stuff. And we're having our yearly gala to raise money. So I show up there, and of this project, and some of the people who've been freed are there to speak. I mean, it was really fantastic. And somebody walks up to me, this guy, hopefully he's listening right now, his name is Levi Daly, who's a lawyer in northern Kentucky, and he's like, "You're Cliff Schecter from the Majority Report." And that is how he knew me. It's nothing else I've ever done in life. He knew me because of the Majority Report, because he listens. So anytime anybody out there thinks to themselves, maybe I'm alone in my bunker listening to this, you are not.
There are other people in their bunkers.
In their bunkers too. You are one of millions out there.
There are thousands of bunkers across the country.
Built for just this experience, just for the experience of hearing Sam Seder. So
indeed,
just so everybody knows, you're in good company here on this show. And I felt
leads us to our latest sponsor, freeze-dried food. That
it was beyond all that. It was a funny experience, so it was kind of cool. In any case, thank you as always,
Cliffy.
Sam.
Always a pleasure. I wish it was under better circumstances, but
you know what? We get right back up and we beat their asses, and there's no reason why we can't get back at it and do the things we failed to do.
Indeed.
So.